The air feels thicker than it should, filled with the kind of laughter that doesn't reach the eyes. Someone asks if he's joking, another calls it cute, and their words tangle into a rhythm that sounds like applause turned inside out. The room is bright, too bright, and every smile hides something sharp. He pretends not to notice. There's warmth, yes, but the wrong kind. The warmth of pity disguised as love. He lifts his voice to defend what is built inside his mind, but each word falls flat, swallowed by their amusement. The silence that follows feels heavier than the noise before it. He tells himself it's fine, that they just don't see it yet. But deep down, he knows this moment will echo longer than it should. The laughter fades, but the shape of it stays, carved into the air, into memory, into him. Morning comes pale and slow, leaking through curtains like regret. He hasn't slept. The echoes of their laughter play in his head, the cruelest kind of music, uninvited and unrelenting. He sits at his desk, eyes tracing the same lines of code, the same sketches, the same promise that no one else believes in. The quiet is his companion now, heavy but faithful. Outside, the world goes on without him. Inside, the idea hums faintly, alive but caged. He imagines the day they'll see it, not out of spite but necessity, when doubt will cost them more than faith ever did. Until then, he builds in silence, each keystroke an act of defiance disguised as patience. The first version doesn't work. Neither does the second. But the third sparks, literally. He jumps, laughing once before coughing through the smoke. Failure has become his rhythm now, and it doesn't hurt like it used to. Somewhere beneath the noise of tools and static, there's a pulse, something taking form. He doesn't think of proving anyone wrong tonight. He just wants to see if this small humming thing can breathe. Outside, the night folds around the house, and for the first time, it feels like protection instead of loneliness. The paperwork feels heavier than it should, a digital form filled with disbelief and trembling fingers. The name he types feels foreign, too bold for someone still living in his childhood room. But when he hits submit, something shifts. A soundless kind of thunder fills him. He stares at the confirmation screen until his eyes burn. No applause, no witnesses, just the quiet triumph of existing on record, the birth of something that no one can laugh away anymore. It happens during a storm. The hum, the spark, the glow. The creation finally breathes. The thunder outside drowns out his shaky laughter as light spills across his hands. For a moment, the entire world feels condensed into the space between pulse and invention. Upstairs, footsteps pass without knowing. He doesn't shout for them to come see. Some miracles are too fragile for witnesses. Instead, he stares at the glow until tears blur it, and in that blur, he sees the start of everything. The city doesn't notice when something begins. It hums indifferently, neon and rain-soaked, as if to test who deserves to be remembered. He walks its streets now, prototype tucked inside his jacket, a quiet heartbeat against his ribs. The emails have started to come. Polite, curious, hesitant. The kind of attention that feels unreal until it becomes overwhelming. He's not ready for it, not really, but momentum doesn't ask permission. Somewhere between exhaustion and exhilaration, he begins to feel dangerous. Not to others, but to the version of himself they built for him. He doesn't tell his family. He lets the silence between them grow. It feels like armor now. The laughter that once wounded him has turned into distance. And for the first time, distance feels like power. The first pitch meeting feels like a fever dream. Faces blur behind polished tables, hands tap pens against notepads, and every question sounds like a test of belief rather than knowledge. He answers anyway. Voice steadier than expected. The investors don't say yes, but they don't say no either. And that's enough. When he steps outside, sunlight floods his vision. For the first time, he feels seen not as a dreamer, but as someone who might be right. The world hums differently now, as though waiting for him to catch up to it. He doesn't remember when the order started. Just a blur of late nights melting into sunrise, the sound of machinery and music bleeding together. The garage has become something else now. Humming servers, tangled cables, the faint scent of burnt solder and ambition. He builds and ships, until his hands ache and his chest feels like it might burst. It's no longer about proving them wrong. It's about surviving the momentum he's unleashed. Outside, his family watches from afar, curious, cautious, unsure if what they see is pride or disbelief. The call comes late. An investor ready to commit. He listens in disbelief, nodding as if this were routine, though every nerve in his body screams. When the call ends, he stares at the blank wall and laughs, quietly at first, then louder, until it turns into something else. Relief, fear, gratitude, all tangled. He imagines telling them, imagines their faces softening with belated pride. But no, not yet. Let them hear it from the world first. Some news deserves an audience. Weeks later, the first headline appears. His name, printed bold and certain, looks foreign on the screen. The article calls it disruptive, visionary, words he never allowed himself to use. He scrolls down, rereads the line about projected valuation, and feels something collapse inside him. The disbelief that once protected him. Outside, the same house still stands, the same people still live within it, but everything has changed. The dream they mocked has become too large to ignore. Somewhere upstairs, he hears the faint creak of a door, the first step of someone coming to see. The house feels smaller now, though no walls have moved. The silence between rooms is longer, thicker, the kind that turns every word into an intrusion. Success has arrived, sleek, undeniable, glittering where doubt used to live. Yet it doesn't fit here. He can feel the shift in every glance, every softened question that tries to sound casual but trembles at the edges. Pride hides behind politeness now. The same voices that once laughed at his dream ask how he's been keeping busy. He answers gently, almost kindly, though each exchange leaves a taste of something metallic. It's strange. He used to crave their attention. Now he wishes for their ignorance back. There's a particular cruelty in success, how it changes nothing and everything all at once. He returns to the same streets, but now strangers recognize him. They call him a visionary, an innovator, words that echo hollow in his ears. At home, he finds himself rehearsing silence, unsure how to speak without sounding like he's boasting. He listens as they talk about their lives, small worries, familiar patterns, and realizes that he no longer belongs to this rhythm. The dream that once divided them has now placed him on the outside entirely. Dinner becomes performance. Every question feels scripted. Every answer rehearsed. His father asks how the company thing is going, pretending indifference, while his eyes betray curiosity. His sister jokes about needing a job, her tone too bright to be real. His mother just watches, smiling when he speaks, like someone afraid the moment might dissolve if she blinks too long. He tells them it's going well. Simple words, chosen carefully. The truth would sound too loud here. He doesn't mention the investors or the expansion or the press. Some victories are too large for small rooms. He begins to stay away longer. Business trips, conferences, meetings in cities that don't carry memory. Airports become his refuge. Hotel rooms his quiet companions. Distance offers peace, but also guilt. In absence, their voices grow softer, almost kind, leaving voicemails that sound like apologies without words. Yet when he returns, the tension rebuilds instantly, like dust settling back on untouched furniture. They don't know how to reach him anymore. He is not sure he wants them to. When the first real conflict arrives, it isn't loud. It's quiet, almost ceremonial. His father calls, voice steady, asking if there's room at the company. The question hangs heavy not as a request, but as a reckoning. He doesn't answer right away. The silence on both ends stretches until it becomes unbearable. Later, he sits in his car outside their house, engine off, headlights dimming. He could go inside. He could say yes, but something in him resists, not out of vengeance, but preservation. The boy they doubted is gone. The man they call now has learned what distance costs. It starts small. A message unread, a visit postponed, an invitation declined. But silence has gravity, and soon it drags everything else down with it. He keeps busy, buried under projects and press, yet even victory begins to sound hollow in the echo chamber of solitude. One morning, he sees their number calling again. He almost answers. Almost. But the memories surface. The laughter, the disbelief, the feeling of being small in the room that built him. He lets it ring out, staring at the screen until it fades to black. The choice feels like freedom for a heartbeat, then like loss for the rest of the day. When he finally visits, the house smells the same, lemon cleaner and nostalgia. But time has rearranged the air. Conversations start safely. Weather, headlines, surface talk. Then come the questions about the company, about positions, about maybe helping out. He listens, patient but shrinking inside. They call it interest, but he hears repentance. Each question cuts differently. Not cruel, not kind, just late. He realizes too late that forgiveness has an expiration date, and his might have passed quietly years ago. The argument is inevitable. The kind that starts softly, almost kindly, before erupting into something volcanic. Words like arrogant, ungrateful, and selfish cut through the room with surgical precision. He tries to explain, to remind them of the years they didn't believe, the nights he felt invisible. But his father's voice drowns him out. His mother's tears come first, then silence. His sister looks away. He realizes then that success doesn't rewrite history. It only makes the footnotes louder. He leaves before anyone can stop him. The door shuts harder than intended, echoing through the house like thunder. Outside, night air hits cold against his face, too sharp, too clean. He stands in the driveway, breathing hard, waiting for the anger to dissolve. But anger is patient. It lingers in the corners, whispering of every moment he wished they had believed. He wants to go back in to end it differently, but the idea of another word spoken in that tone makes him nauseous. So he drives, headlights slicing through dark streets that used to feel familiar. Later that night, he sits in his office again, same desk, same skyline, same muted hum of success. The city sprawls beneath him, glittering, indifferent. He opens an old message thread, years of unanswered texts from his father, polite updates from his mother, the occasional teasing emoji from his sister. He scrolls until it hurts. The words blur together, past and present, merging into something unrecognizable. The empire he built feels weightless in his hands. He wonders for the first time whether the dream ever meant freedom, or if it simply replaced one kind of loneliness with another. The call comes in the middle of a meeting, cutting through his practiced composure like a blade. He doesn't recognize the voice at first. The words are too calm, too official, until the meaning lands. The drive to the hospital blurs, rain hammering against the windshield, headlights bending through tears he refuses to acknowledge. It's strange how easily the world resumes its rhythm when yours stops. In the sterile hallway, time folds in on itself. Laughter, fights, dinners, silence, all collapsing into a single, unbearable question. What if this had been the last call he ignored? Machines hum in rhythm with fear. He stands beside the bed, words piling in his throat, none strong enough to carry what should have been said years ago. The sound of the ventilator becomes unbearable, a metronome marking lost time. His mother sits quietly, eyes hollow, and his sister keeps asking questions no one can answer. He reaches out once, stopping short before touching the old man's hand. Regret feels heavier than guilt, quieter too. He realizes forgiveness isn't something you say. It's something you offer too late. The surgery goes on for hours. He waits in the lobby, surrounded by strangers clutching coffee cups and whispered prayers. Every success, every accolade, every dollar feels meaningless here. He wonders when he stopped calling home, when triumph became easier than tenderness. In the silence, a thought rises uninvited. That all his building, all his striving, was an attempt to prove something that love could have given freely, if pride hadn't stood guard. He closes his eyes. For the first time in years, he prays without asking for victory. When the doctor finally speaks, the words fall like confession. Stable, recovering, a chance. Relief floods him so fast it hurts. His mother sobs quietly. His sister leans against the wall, whispering a thank you to no one in particular. He steps outside, the night cool and clean. The city hums again, this time softer, almost forgiving. He realizes the company emails can wait, the investors can wait, the world can wait. Some things aren't measured in profit or power or recognition. Some things simply return when you stop running from them. The next morning he visits again, bringing coffee and silence. His father is awake, frail but present, eyes softer than he remembers. They speak little, because words have lost their authority here. When he finally says, "I'm proud of you," it isn't about business. It's about endurance, about being seen again, not as a son who rebelled, but as one who returned. Later, in the hallway, he stops, breathing in the sterile air, knowing the empire outside can wait. For the first time in years, home feels like something within reach. Healing never happens all at once. It begins in fragments. A shared breakfast, a conversation that doesn't break. The house, once filled with echoes of pride and silence, starts to breathe again. He visits often now, learning the rhythm of family without flinching. There are still unspoken things between them, but they hang softly, like dust that refuses to settle. Every small laugh feels like an apology. Every shared story, an act of rebuilding. He realizes that home isn't a place you return to. It's the space that opens when forgiveness decides to stay. When his father finally visits the office, it feels surreal. The roles reversed, the hierarchy rewritten. He gives a tour, explaining systems and strategy, but the older man barely listens. Instead, he looks at his son. Really looks as if seeing him for the first time. They pause before a wall of framed articles and awards. "You did this," the old man says, but it doesn't sound like surprise anymore. It sounds like understanding. The silence afterward feels sacred. Two men finally standing in the same story. Later, the family gathers at a small restaurant, not to celebrate a milestone, but to share time without pretense. They talk about everything except the company. The laughter feels real again, unmeasured, easy. It occurs to him that success didn't save them. Humility did. Pride had been a currency too costly to keep. As they toast, he doesn't think of money or fame. He thinks of the nights in the garage, the silence after the mocking laughter, and how far the sound of forgiveness can travel once it finally begins. The company grows faster than he imagined. Press requests flood in, partnerships multiply, and yet something inside him slows. He delegates more, steps back, learns to breathe. One afternoon, he watches his sister walk into her first team meeting, confident, prepared, finally part of the world she once teased him for believing in. Watching her speak, he feels pride untainted by resentment. The story has turned itself inside out. The dream that divided them now binds them closer than before. Evenings return him to the quiet office, city lights pulsing below. The sound of typing has replaced the echo of tension. A framed photo sits on his desk now. The four of them, smiling, no shadows between them. He looks at it often, not as proof of success, but survival. The journey wasn't about wealth or recognition. It was about enduring misunderstanding long enough for love to catch up. He leans back, closes his eyes, and lets the stillness fill the room. For the first time, it feels like peace, not the kind that follows victory, but the kind that comes after finally being understood. Years pass without announcement. The noise of ambition softens into the hum of purpose. The company no longer feels like rebellion. It feels like contribution, something larger than the wound it was born from. He walks through hallways that once echoed with uncertainty, now alive with possibility. The people who doubted him have long since forgotten the doubt. What they remember is the persistence, the faith, the work. He still carries the echoes, but they've changed shape. No longer reminders of pain, but markers of how far the sound traveled. The family has found a rhythm again, not perfect, but real. Sunday dinners return like seasons, steady and forgiving. The laughter now carries memory instead of mockery. Sometimes they talk about the early days, about the nights in the garage and the first article that changed everything. He listens without bitterness. Time has dulled the sharp edges, leaving behind only gratitude for the struggle, the silence, and the second chances that followed. Every smile at that table feels earned. He visits the old garage sometimes, now emptied and clean, the faint smell of solder and dust still clinging to the air. The table where it all began sits against the wall, scarred and silent. He runs his fingers across it, feeling the grooves like braille, each scratch a chapter of the life that followed. There's a strange humility in seeing how small the beginning was compared to what it became. Greatness, he thinks, isn't born from grand plans. It's built in rooms too small for anyone else to notice. Later that year, he launches a foundation, not in his name, but in theirs. The announcement barely makes the news, but it doesn't need to. It funds young dreamers with no backing, no safety net, just a spark and faith. Watching the first recipients present their ideas, he feels the same nervous excitement he once carried alone. Only this time, he's the one listening, believing first. The circle has closed quietly without spectacle, and it feels right that way. At dusk, he returns home. The house hums with soft conversation, the smell of dinner lingering. Outside, the world moves as it always has. Cars passing, wind bending through trees. But something in him is still. He steps into the living room, where the old photo of them all still hangs. Younger, uncertain, unaware of everything waiting ahead. He smiles, not out of pride but peace. Every dream begins in disbelief, he thinks, and ends, if you're lucky, in forgiveness. The lights dim, the silence breathes, and the story rests.